Hi everyone and welcome back for another video. I'm sorry it's been a little while since the last one. I got distracted by a few other projects for a couple of weeks, but today back with a vengeance, and I'm really delighted to be tonight taking you through again one of my favorite pieces on the current ABRSM syllabus, and that is on the grade 5 syllabus, Pergolesi's Nina. Of course, as usual, before we delve into exactly how to work it out, how to play it, we're first of all going to take a closer look at the story behind and the background of the piece. As so many of these pieces, it wasn't originally written for the cello, but this is in fact an aria written for the voice. And I actually looked a little bit more closely at the text earlier, and as you can hear from the music, it's quite a dark, quite a sad piece, and that's because the text, it's about this girl called Nina, who is very ill. She's gravely ill, and the man is singing about his dear Nina, who for 3 days she has been laying on her bed and just sleeping, and he's trying to rouse musicians to play louder and louder to awaken her so that she may awaken once more. So it's quite intense, it's quite sad. And you can find on YouTube, I'm posting the link below the video, a wonderful recording by none other than the great tenor Luciano Pavarotti, which I would really urge you to listen to before playing the piece. So in short, well, our job as here as cellists is to try to recreate the human voice as closely as we possibly can, and that is really going to be the topic of this video. What do we need to do technically with both the right hand and the left hand in order to get as close as possible to that beautiful singing line? There are, well, 3 aspects in particular which we're going to be looking at, 2 of which are very closely interlinked, and those are right hand aspects: the speed of the bow and the bow distribution. And you can't really look at one without looking at the other. And then in the left hand, we're going to be looking a little bit at the vibrato, which by this point I would guess you have started, which should be well underway. And we're going to be looking mainly at how to use and how to vary the vibrato to help us get that expression. Okay. So we're going to go through it really phrase by phrase, and in the process I will introduce you to really some of the underlying principles of how we create a phrase with the speed of the bow and by working out the correct bow distribution. So we're starting on that bow. We're starting somewhere in the middle of the bow, comfortably, because you want to have enough room through these 4 repeated for the 4 crotchets coming up to vary the lengths of the bow. So that's why it's really important that we're starting in the right place. So you can see what I just did. I started in the middle of the bow, and with each repeated D I use a little bit more bow, to the point where I'm almost using not quite the whole bow, but almost using the whole bow on the 4 speed on the E flat. there isn't very much written here in terms of dynamic or crescendo, but if you listen to the recording of the voice, there's a very clear, very natural phrasing, which obviously goes to the second full bar, goes to that slur. And in the text, each of the slurs, each of the da, 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 is when he sings Kenina. So he repeats her name 3 times, and we need to show that in the development. So less bow, more, and then on the slur, you see that I don't divide the bow in half whatsoever. I use quite a lot of the bow on the E flat and a lot less on the D, and that gives you that effect of that sigh, yeah? So one more time to put it together. We start in the middle of the bow, and don't, to develop the phrase, never press, just change the amount of bow you use, very, very light in both hands. Note, as I increase the length of the bow, I also increase the intensity of the vibrato. I just open it up a little bit more, so just make it a little bit wider. So we have the first phrase, and then he reiterates that, and we go up a step. Again, for that F, you use a lot of bow, and then as you go through the note, you slow down. You slow down the bow. And just one word about the left hand here. You have that 4/4 shift. And in an ideal world, you want to try to vibrate through that. And the way you do that is by making sure that the weight of your arm is really fully on the 4th finger. So make sure that your shoulder isn't pulled back, that you're really balanced on the 4th finger. See, and by doing that, you can A, keep the vibrato going, and secondly, control the shift. Now, we go on to another bar of repeated notes. Similar idea, we start with less, we grow towards the following bar. Here, once we hit bar 6, we need to bring our bow speed right down, because there is a lot we have to fit into this bow. We have the crotchet C, and then we've got this little twiddle and a shift, right? Now, if we spend too much bow on that, by the time you have to shift, you will really feel that you're at the very end of your bow, and you will likely panic, and the shift will be compromised. So practice to do these 4 repeated crotchets, more bow, and then save. On that first C, really, it's almost a little bit uncomfortable. I always say to my student, you have to imagine a little bit like you're walking a dog who's really pulling on the leash and wants to run off, but you're not allowing it. So that's a feeling you need to have in the bow at this point. As soon as you are on the D, as soon as you've shifted, you can let the dog off the leash, you can let it run. And that will help you to get to the F. So save, turn, shift, and then go. So, couple of comments about what comes next. First of all, here, stop the bow, shift, And really, you're going down by one tone. Make sure you do that shift with your arm, so you're not trying to fudge it anyway. Your whole arm moves as a unit with a tiny stop in the bow, which later on, as you practice the process, becomes almost imperceptible. But you start with stop, shift with your arm. So that's a process you have to do slowly, several times. Quick word about the harmonic and the shift that follows. Lots of people are very scared to let the harmonic go. Yeah, that lots of people worry that it's going to stop sounding and that shift really quickly. And obviously in this music, that's the last thing you want. Trust the harmonic. For as long as your bow keeps moving, the harmonic will sound. And what you want here is a really slow, a really controlled shift. It's all about with shifting. It's about the quality of the movement, that you are not making a sort of jagged, jerky movement in any way, that it's very soft, and the movement always needs to be in keeping with the music that you play. Let's go on to after the double bar, and here we're the music has become more intense, and we've got two slightly uncomfortable things in this bar. We are on the fourth finger quite a lot, and we have the extension. So once again, for this, make sure that you're really balanced on this fourth finger. Yeah, so make sure your shoulder is not pulled back again. Make sure your whole arm is really supporting this fourth finger. And secondly, very important, do not anticipate this extension to the B flat by sitting there with an extended first finger, because that will make the sound on the long D really tense. So all you do is very free hand, because the finger needs to be able to extend at a moment's notice here very quickly. So like that. You can take a look. I have another video on the backwards extension where I talk about this in a little bit more detail, so you can take a look at that as well. So we just relax, balance. So you just very quickly, if you imagine for that B flat, you just do that, you kind of grab something. Yeah, a little bit like if you imagine a sort of chameleon, you know, with a tongue which just sort of flicks out and goes like that. And that's really how you want to treat that. And then we have another scary thing coming up right after, which is the shift to the F. In the edition that I'm working from here, it says fourth finger, which obviously is possible. In which case, if you do that, make sure you shift on your first finger. The entire shift is done on your first finger. But if you want to, you can also shift up to fourth position and use your second finger if you feel a bit safer on that. Yeah. So one quick word here about the bow. Much slower bow speed here. And slow the bow down. And for the shift here again, that octave shift. Again, quality of movement. I know that is quite a scary shift for many people, but really train yourself to do that shift very slowly. We go on to the next phrase, which again, it comes twice, so that's very much a feature of this piece. And the second time we add intensity by adding let's take a look once again here at the bow distribution, at the bow speed. We need to develop that long note, that tight over note. So we start quite slowly with the bow and vibrate the upbeat if you can. As you come to the tight over note, slightly speed the bow up to help you go around the corner. And here you get da, 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 you've got that sigh again as you had in the first line. So same idea, lots of bow on E flat, much less on D, and you automatically get that phrase. The next phrase is a repeat of what we had in bar 5, 6, 7, 8. So I won't cover that again. And then once again we have got a phrase that comes twice, which is nothing other than a G major scale. And again, I think we have to make some sort of contrast here, and we have to again use our bow speed to do that. So you want to really save your bow, because we have got, in the addition here that we're using, we've got 5-note slurred followed by 3 notes slurred. So on the 5, on the first, again, I'm not dividing the bow into 5 parts. I use very little bow at the start. I use almost half the bow for the last note. So and then obviously, to help yourself, you can also, as you go up, you go a bit closer to the bridge and slow the bow down and reach back here. Yeah, so reach, make your first finger really long, reach back, and then retract the hand. Now, for the second phrase, I personally like to use a slightly different fingering, just as a means of contrast. The second time I go up the D string like that, initially almost as a sort of echo, just to give it a bit of color, but that's something you can choose for yourself. So we're here, and then you've got that phrase, yeah, going into well, either the first or the second time bar. There is a little bit of shifting in here. I would give you one bit of advice when you're doing, before that shift, make sure your fourth finger is hovering above the string, not out to the side, because if it's out to the side, you'll find it very difficult. And bowing wise, you can open up, it's faulty, you can open up, you can use a little bit more bow. And then in the second time bar here, you have got that, well, it's almost like an afterthought there. So you want to take a really big up bow here. And again, one word of advice about the shift here. Make sure your arm is aligned, your hand is aligned really well so that you can shift back without having to make any adjustments that way. So it's just one line. Big. If possible, vibrate through it. You shift on the fourth finger. And then safe bow. As soon as you're on the B flat, safe bow. Very slow bow. So you're having really safe. You don't need any bow on that D. Safe. And then wind it down. Slow the bow down. So these are some tips and some ideas, and as I said, it's an absolutely wonderful piece, and this is really where you can show good sound, good bow control, vibrato. So it's whether you're doing it for an exam or otherwise, it's a piece really worth investing time in and working on, because that's really where you learn fundamental principles of phrasing, which you will be able to use going forward. So as usual, if you have any questions, please post them below, and I'll get back to you. And I hope this has been useful. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to smash that like button, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.